Hello, my name is Lisa G. Samia. I'm a published author, award-winning poet, and speaker. First of all, thank you to Poe Richmond for inviting me here today to read Edgar Allan Poe's immortal poem, Annabel Lee, as well as to share with you the inspiration of Mr. Poe's Annabel Lee on my own poetry and my own poetic works. At the conclusion of reading Annabel Lee, I will read two selections from my new poetry and essay book, The Nameless and the Faceless Women of the Civil War. So you can see the influence Edgar Allan Poe has and continues to have on my poetry. I will now read Edgar Allan Poe's Annabel Lee. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than a love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs in heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, when envying her and me, yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so, all the night tide, I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. I would at this time just like to take a moment to share with you a few of the literary devices and stylistic devices used by Edgar Allan Poe to create this masterpiece. For example, Annabel Lee has 41 lines and 6 stanzas. Poe uses rhyme, rhythm, and repetition. He uses these devices to create a harmony of sound that in turn creates an exquisite love and a haunting effect within the poem. Once heard, it is never forgotten. It has internal rhymes such as chilling and killing, ever dissever, for the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee, and the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. He also uses imagery and heavenly imagery in the poem. Heaven, kingdom, kingdom by the sea, angels, moon, beams, dreams, soul from the soul, the winged seraphs of heaven. A winged seraph is from the Bible. There are 6 winged seraph angels that fly about God's throne and eternally praise his name, chanting, holy, holy, holy. They are the caretakers of God's throne. He uses alliteration. Alliteration is a stylistic device in which a number of words have the same consonant sound. They occur closely together in a sentence or stanza and in a series. An example, consonant H, not so happy in heaven. W, of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. Consonant S, sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea, and also personification. It's a figure of speech in which a thing, an idea, is given a human attribute, such as the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. My first memory of Annabel Lee was that of a schoolgirl. Yes, I remembered the poem, but it was not until I was at my midlife in my life when the desire to write, to try to write poetry became too much for me to ignore. And when my mind's eye and heart heard the sounds and the feelings of poetry, it was the rhythmic and haunting refrain of Annabel Lee that came into my heart and onto my pen. It is if it is the culmination of all of Edgar Allan Poe's losses of the women in his life that he loved that is contained in Annabel Lee. The loss of his dear mother Eliza when Edgar was just 2. The loss of his young classmate's mother, Jane Stannard, who recognized Poe's sensitivity and genius and encouraged his poetry. The loss of his foster mother, Frances Allen. And finally, the loss of his dear wife, Virginia. Virginia died on January 30th, 1847. And like his mother, Eliza, she was only 24 years old. In May of 1849, he penned Annabel Lee, the immortal ballad which immortalized his dear wife. It would be the last piece of prose written by Poe. It is said that although he was the father of the detective story and the horror story and short story, Poe always thought of himself as a poet. For this, I am sure you would agree, is quite true. I will now read 2 selections from my new poetry essay collection, The Nameless and the Faceless Women of the Civil War. It is my hope you will see and more importantly, feel the influence of Edgar Allan Poe's Annabel Lee. The collection gives a voice to those women who witnessed and suffered during the Civil War, yet never made it into the history books. So take a moment with me now as we step back into history and listen to the voices of the past come to life. The first selection is called The Green and the Gold. It is a poem about a woman who's waiting to hear from her husband after the Battle of Chancellorsville, Virginia, April 30th to May 6th, 1863. The Green and the Gold. I walked through the fields of green and gold, of whose beauty it was to behold, and came upon the hyacinth, you see, colored like gems that beckoned to me, and stood beneath the dogwood in bloom, whose pink petals would forever loom. And as I gazed upon the sky, colored like ice blue, like thine eyes. Awash in perfection upon the scene, God's handiwork, the Almighty being. Yet for my heart there is no rest, for the war raging, a sword in my breast. 'Tis been 3 weeks now without a word. Certainly by now I would have heard. It was in Chancellorsville you wrote to me and said not to worry, the Yankees had fled. Yet here I sit until now, I just heard. A rider on horseback most assured. He came upon me with a note he did give. I fell to my knees. I could not forgive. My eyes blinded with tears, my hand numb with pain, I tore through the letter and cried out in refrain, my God, you have taken thee into thine grace forever to be. Wait for me, my love, I will come soon. My life is over, ne'er to bloom. The second selection I will read is called In Thine Eyes. A poem from the voice of a soldier to his wife and his very last thoughts on the battlefield. In thine eyes, my most beautiful wife, I saw perfection that gave me life and stopped my heart at my very first glance. Eyes of violet, I took a chance. The eyes beholden that bended my knee, that took my breath and all of me. To such beauty I have never seen, a gift from the Almighty that reigns supreme. And so I think upon your eyes, as I sit before the battle, we will rise. And soon, dear wife, it will come again, the charge, the fire, the loss of men. And now I must tell you, my darling, and admit, 'tis not long for this earth, I must submit. For the angel of death has come for me, my wounds too grave never to be. But know, dear wife, as I sit and write to you, I see thine eyes violet in hue. And as I lose my eye to the sight, the last of earth with all my might, and as I ascend with the Almighty at my side, wait for me, dear wife, so now I cry. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you again, Poe Richmond. And most of all, thank you, Edgar Allan Poe.